For 17 years, Carol and I have been married. Together, we've built a life, a family, and a love that I believed could weather anything. We've been together for 23 years in total, high school sweethearts who grew up and grew old together. Or so I thought. We have 3 beautiful daughters, aged 11, 13, and 15. They are my world, and Carol has always been the center of it. 3 days ago, everything changed. Carol came home from work late in the evening. I was in the kitchen, finishing up dinner, while the girls were scattered around the house. One doing homework, another reading, and our youngest playing on her tablet. When Carol walked through the door, I knew immediately that something was wrong. She was sobbing, barely able to catch her breath. Her face was pale, her eyes red and swollen. "Carol? What happened?" I asked, rushing to her side. She didn't answer, just shook her head and waved me off. She dropped her bag on the floor and headed straight for our bedroom, slamming the door behind her. I stood there for a moment, stunned. Carol wasn't one to cry easily, and she'd never slammed a door in her life. I followed her to the bedroom, knocked softly, and tried again. "Carol? Please talk to me. What's going on?" Her voice was muffled but sharp. "David, not now. Please." I backed away, giving her space. I figured she needed time to calm down, to process whatever had upset her so much. I assumed she'd come to me when she was ready. That night, she didn't eat dinner and stayed in the bedroom while I handled the girls. When I checked on her before bed, she was already asleep, or pretending to be. The next morning, I woke up to find Carol packing an overnight bag. She was moving quickly, shoving clothes into the bag without much thought. Her face was set, determined, but her eyes looked lost. "Carol, what are you doing?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm despite the panic rising in my chest. She didn't stop packing. "I need some time, David. I need to go." "Time? Go where?" "Carol, you're scaring me. What's going on?" She paused for a moment, her back to me, then zipped up the bag and turned around. "I can't explain right now. Please, just trust me. Take care of the girls." "Trust you? You're leaving without an explanation, and I'm supposed to just be okay with that?" My voice cracked despite my best efforts to stay composed. "Carol, we're a team. Whatever it is, we can handle it together. Please, talk to me." She looked at me then, her eyes filled with tears. "David, She shook her head, swallowed hard, and grabbed her bag. "I'll call you when I'm ready." With that, she walked out of the room. I followed her to the door, pleading with her to stay, but she didn't turn around. Our oldest daughter, Emily, was in the living room and saw her leave. "Where's Mom going?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. I didn't have an answer. Since then, none of my calls or texts have been answered. At first, I thought maybe her phone had died or she needed space. But as the hours turned into days, my worry grew. The girls kept asking where their mom was, and I had to lie, telling them she'd gone to visit their grandparents and needed some time alone. It's not entirely a lie. Carol's parents eventually confirmed that she was with them, but even they refused to give me any real answers. I called her parents the day after she left. It took 3 tries before her father picked up. "Hello?" His gruff voice answered. "Hi, it's David," I said, trying to keep my tone steady. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with Carol. She left and Is she with you?" There was a long pause. "She's here," he said finally. "Thank God. Is she okay? What happened? Why did she leave?" "David, she's safe. That's all you need to know right now. Just give her some time." "Time for what?" "I don't understand. She left without saying anything. The girls are worried." "I'm worried?" "David," he interrupted. "Be patient. She'll reach out when she's ready." And with that, he hung up. I called her brother next, hoping he might have some insight. He sounded genuinely confused. "I haven't heard anything," he said. "I didn't even know she left." "Are you sure she's okay?" "Her parents say she is, but they won't tell me anything else," I replied, frustration creeping into my voice. "If you hear from her, can you please let me know?" "Of course," he said, but I could tell he felt as helpless as I did. Finally, I reached out to one of Carol's coworkers, a woman named Lisa who she'd been close to for years. Lisa sounded hesitant when I brought up Carol. "She left work early a few days ago," Lisa admitted. "She seemed upset, but she didn't say anything to me about what was going on. I thought maybe she was sick or had a family emergency." "She didn't mention anything before she left?" I pressed. "No," Lisa said. "I'm sorry, David. I wish I could help. And that's where I'm at now. It's been 3 days, and no one has communicated with me or the children. I'm left in the dark, trying to keep it together for my daughters, while the woman I've loved for over 2 decades is suddenly a stranger to me. I'm trying to keep things together for my daughters, but when they ask me what's going on or why their mom left, all I can say is that she's with their grandparents and that we need to be patient. They've started speculating that we had a heated argument and are divorcing, but that's far from the truth. We never argue. The idea of packing up the kids and driving 3 hours to her parents' house has crossed my mind more than once, but I hesitated. Then, I decided to call the police for a wellness check since my father-in-law hadn't followed through. It wasn't an easy decision, but I was desperate for answers and for some assurance that Carol was okay. When the officers returned my call, I braced myself for anything, but I wasn't prepared for what they told me. The wellness check confirmed my worst fears. Carol wasn't just at her parents' house grieving over something I didn't understand. She had been having an affair for at least 2 years, possibly longer. And the man she had been involved with had died from a heart attack earlier this week. The woman I've loved since high school, the mother of my children, had been living a double life right under my nose. It wasn't just the affair that crushed me. It was the realization that I had been so blind to what was happening. It became clear that Carol's mother and sister knew about the affair. They were actively covering for her, shielding her from me and, by extension, from our daughters. Even now, after everything has been exposed, Carol still hasn't reached out to me or the girls. I'm trying to keep it together, to shield my daughters from this storm as best as I can. They don't know yet, and I'm terrified of the moment when I'll have to sit them down and tell them the truth. How do you explain something like this to your children? What I initially thought was a 2-year betrayal is now looking like it may have gone on much longer. Carol had known her affair partner for years. His sudden passing is what brought everything to light. My eldest daughter has been helping me piece things together, but this process is incredibly painful. I met with 2 different attorneys to explore my options. Both attorneys were professional, sympathetic even, but it didn't make any of it easier. Their questions were piercing. Do you want custody of the kids? Will you be seeking alimony? What assets do you want to protect? I answered as best I could. Every time I think about what Carol has done, this overwhelming question pounds in my head like a drum. How could you? It's the question that haunts me, the one that triggers this insatiable rage I can't seem to control. I found myself screaming into my pillow at night, pounding the mattress until my arms ache. The anger burns so hot it leaves me shaking, and when it finally subsides, I collapse into a restless, dreamless sleep, only to wake up and start the mental torment all over again. The worst part is seeing how all of this is affecting my daughters. They've started trying to take care of me, stepping up in ways no child should ever have to. It breaks my heart every time they ask if I'm okay or offer to make me a cup of tea, as though they're the parents now. They deserve better than this. I'm giving them everything I can, but it doesn't feel like enough. It's been just over a week since D-Day, and each new piece of information adds salt to it. I've recently learned that Carol's affair lasted more than 4 years. 4 years of lies and betrayal. While I don't have an exact timeline yet, it seems likely that their relationship began emotionally before it turned physical. How and why it happened, I may never know for sure. Yesterday, my in-laws showed up unexpectedly. It was the first time I'd seen them since this whole nightmare began. They greeted the girls warmly. Hugs, small talk, the usual. For a moment, I watched from the sidelines, seeing my daughters light up at the sight of their grandparents. After about 15 minutes, my father-in-law, Robert, cleared his throat. David, could we have a word? In private? I nodded. Sure, let's step into the kitchen. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one Carol and I had picked out years ago. My mother-in-law, Diane, fidgeted with her hands while Robert took the lead. David, he began. We're here because we've been speaking with Carol. She wants to come home. I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. She wants to come home now? After everything? Robert sighed, glancing at Diane before continuing. She's scared. She knows what she did was wrong, and she's struggling to face the consequences. She feels she can't confront you or her past mistakes, but she wants to make things right. I clenched my jaw, fighting the urge to lash out. She should have thought about that before throwing away everything we had. Do you have any idea what this has done to me? To our kids? Diane looked down, her voice barely above a whisper. We know, David. We're ashamed of her. Humiliated, even. We never raised her to act this way. If we could undo it, we would. But here we are. I exhaled sharply, trying to rein in my emotions. You said she wants to come home. Why isn't she here telling me this herself? Why send you? She's afraid, David, Robert said firmly. Afraid you'll reject her. Afraid of what she'll have to face. But she's ready to talk, to own up to everything, if you'll let her. Finally, I looked up. You know, I've been doing a lot of thinking these past few days, and I'm not even sure what to think anymore. You say she's scared? Good. She should be scared. Because what she did wasn't just a mistake. It was a betrayal. Of me, of our marriage, of our family. That includes you, Rob. You knew and kept silent. How could you? Just imagine if I did that to your daughter and start an affair and dump her. Will you still be here begging me to take her back? The room went quiet for a moment. Robert shifted uncomfortably before speaking again. David, we're not here to defend what she did. We want to see if there's any chance this marriage can be saved. And if I say there isn't? I asked bluntly. Diane spoke up, her voice trembling. We understand you're angry, David. We do. But for the sake of the girls, for the years you've shared, please, just consider it. I sighed, leaning forward with my hands clasped on the table. I'll say this much. I'm not making any decisions until I hear it all from her. I want her to sit in front of me, look me in the eyes, and tell me the truth. Every last bit of it. They nodded, relief flickering in their expressions. But what they didn't know was that I'd already made my decision. I planned to file for divorce. I didn't tell them that, though. Not yet. I'm holding back because I need to know the full truth first. After 17 years of marriage, 3 daughters, and a life built together since we were kids, I feel I deserve at least that much. More importantly, I want my daughters to see that I gave their mother a chance to explain herself, to apologize, and to handle this as responsible adults. In the meantime, my daughters and I have started to settle into a new routine. To address the possibility of her return, I set a condition that I believe will be difficult for her to meet. I told her she could come back if she sat down with me, face to face, and told me everything about her affair, start to finish, without hesitation or lies. Afterward, she would need to meet with our daughters, apologize to them, and answer their questions. They already know enough to deserve honesty. While she's legally free to return at any time, I feel these conditions are necessary for accountability and respect for everyone involved. Still, I can't help but wonder if I can use her hesitation about coming home to buy myself more time. Is that wrong? I'm not trying to manipulate her. I just need space. If I can delay her return, I'd like to prepare myself emotionally and mentally. Our state has a 90-day waiting period before a divorce can be finalized. Eventually, she'll come back, and life will move forward, whether I'm ready or not. But for now, I just want time to plan and heal mentally. When my wife returned home yesterday, the tension in the air was unbearable. Normally, her coming through the door would mean a hug, a kiss, and a sense of relief after a long day. But this time, everything was different. She walked in hesitantly, her eyes red and puffy, and after a moment, she stepped toward me, arms outstretched. David, she said softly, can we just... I stepped back, cutting her off. Stay at a distance from me, bitch. I shouted, the anger spilling out before I could stop it. Her face crumpled, but I didn't care. Tell me everything, I demanded, my voice sharp and unyielding. Don't bother unpacking or settling in. Just sit down and start talking. You owe me that much. She froze, visibly shaken, and stammered, David, I can't. I'm not ready yet. Not ready? I repeated, incredulous. My voice rose despite my best efforts to stay calm. You've had more than 3 weeks. What the hell have you been doing this whole time if not preparing for this? She shook her head, tears spilling over. I'm trying, but I don't know how to explain. Don't give me that. I snapped, my composure cracking. The only thing I asked, the only condition I gave you, was to tell me the truth. To love your family enough to be honest. If you can't even do that, why are you here? She started sobbing, her hands covering her face. David, please, just give me time. I know I've hurt you. I know I've destroyed everything, but I don't have the words yet. I don't know where to start. I took a deep breath, then another, trying to rein in the anger coursing through me. Start with the truth, I said through gritted teeth. That's where you start. Her sobbing grew louder, and I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to yell even more. I wanted answers. I wanted accountability. And most of all, I wanted to see if there was even a shred of the woman I once knew left in her. I didn't fully succeed in keeping my composure. After a long, tense pause, I decided there was no use dancing around it anymore. I crossed my arms and bluntly said, I know everything. I know about the affair with your coworker. I know it's been going on for over 4 years. I know you plan to leave me for him. And I know that instead of facing the consequences, you ghosted your entire family. And now you're standing here, after all of that, without even meeting the one simple thing I asked of you. Honesty. Her head snapped up, and I could see the confusion flash across her face. I want a divorce. I cannot live with a faithless 304 like you, I said firmly. Her expression changed slightly, a flicker of something I couldn't quite read. It wasn't shock or anger, as I'd expected. Instead, it was blank, almost detached. She stood there in the kitchen, staring at the floor, her arms hanging limp at her sides. I braced myself for a reaction. An emotional outburst, a flood of apologies, or even an accusation of my own wrongdoing. Instead, she stayed quiet, unnervingly quiet. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she lifted her head and said softly, "Okay, let's sit down and talk this out." Her tone was calm, measured. It caught me off guard. I had prepared for chaos, not this eerie detachment. I gestured to the living room. "Fine," I said, my voice hard. "Let's talk." Eventually, I sat down on the couch, leaning forward with my elbows on my knees, and laid it all out. "I know about your affair. I know it's been going on for years. I know you met him through work. I know your sister helped cover for you. I know you used COVID as an excuse to keep it hidden. Some of it might be assumptions, but not much." She stayed standing in front of me, staring at the floor. Not a word. "Say something," I demanded, my voice strained. "Anything." She didn't. Her silence was infuriating. My hands clenched into fists, but I forced myself to stay calm. I breathed deeply, trying to steady the rage rising inside me. "Do you even care about what you've done? About the damage you've caused? To me? To the kids? Do you care at all?" Still nothing. I ran my hands down my face and leaned back, trying to keep it together. "Fine. Let's try this," I said, my voice lowering as exhaustion crept in. "What did I do to make you leave? Did you ever love me? Was he worth it?" She remained completely motionless, her head bowed, her hands loosely clasped in front of her. No tears, no yelling, not even a single glance in my direction. Just silence. I stared at her for what felt like an eternity. She stood there, unmoving, like a statue. "Do you have any idea how much this hurts?" I whispered. No answer. I shook my head, unsure of what to do next. And then, a soft sound caught my attention. I turned and saw our daughters standing in the doorway, wide-eyed and silent. They had heard everything. My heart sank. I had been so caught up in the confrontation that I'd completely forgotten about where they were. Our eldest daughter, full of pent-up rage, stormed downstairs and screamed at her mother. My wife hurried to the bedroom and locked the door. Now, we are at an impasse. Last night, as I lay in bed, I could hear my wife sobbing for most of the night. Only our youngest daughter has tried to talk to her. The other two have stayed away completely. She continues to call this place home, and if we all have to live under the same roof, it will only create a sad and toxic situation. Our eldest daughter, Emma, came storming down the stairs, her face red with anger. "How could you?" she shouted, her voice shaking. "How could you do this to us? To Dad?" My wife stood frozen at the bottom of the stairs, looking at Emma like she was a stranger. "Emma, please," she began, her voice trembling, but Emma wasn't having it. "Don't please me. You don't get to play the victim here." Emma's words hit like punches, each one sharper than the last. "You lied to us. You lied to Dad. You wrecked everything, and now you're just standing there crying like that's going to fix it." My wife opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. Instead, she turned and hurried to the bedroom, slamming the door shut behind her. Emma stood at the foot of the stairs, her hands balled into fists. "She doesn't even care," she muttered before storming back up to her room. I stood there in silence, unsure of what to do or say. My youngest daughter, Lily, approached me hesitantly. "Dad, is Mom going to be okay?" she asked softly. I crouched down to her level, trying to mask the exhaustion and heartache in my voice. "I don't know, sweetheart," I admitted, "but we're going to be okay. I promise." She nodded, wrapping her small arms around my neck. "I hope she's sorry," she whispered before pulling away and heading back to her room. That night, as I lay in the spare room, I could hear my wife sobbing behind the locked door of our bedroom. Only Lily had spoken to her all day. Our other two daughters kept their distance, their anger and betrayal radiating from their silence. The tension in the house was suffocating. I sat at the kitchen table the next morning, staring at my coffee cup, the words I wanted to say swirling in my head. Could I ask her to leave? Should I? The thought of telling her to pack up and stay with her sister made my stomach churn. But the alternative, living together in this toxic, broken state, was unbearable. When she finally emerged from the bedroom, her face was pale, her eyes swollen from crying. She hesitated when she saw me, as though she wasn't sure she was welcome in the same room. "We can't keep doing this," I said, breaking the silence. She nodded faintly but didn't say anything. I hesitated, swallowing the lump in my throat. "I think it's best if you stay with your sister until we figure this out. For the kids, if nothing else." Her lip trembled, but she didn't argue. "Please let me stay with my daughters," she whispered before turning and retreating back to the bedroom. The rest of the day felt like it was dragging on forever. I was with my daughters, trying to maintain some semblance of the routine we'd managed to build over the past 2 weeks, but it was clear things had shifted. I kept telling myself to stay calm. For them, I had to put on a brave face. But honestly, I was exhausted. Physically, emotionally, everything. I wanted this all to be over. Sitting down with the girls for dinner, I forced myself to focus on the conversation, even though my mind was everywhere. "Dad, what's wrong?" my youngest asked, looking up from her plate, her eyes searching mine. I gave her a smile, one that felt fake even to me. "Nothing, sweetie. Just tired, I guess." After dinner, I went to the living room, sitting down on the couch with my head in my hands. I couldn't keep up the act much longer. It was all too much. That's when she walked in. My wife. She looked at me, her face softening just slightly, but I could tell she was still unsure of what to say. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, standing in the doorway. "I know things aren't easy right now." I didn't look up at her. I couldn't. "You're sorry?" I muttered, my voice thick with frustration. "Is that all you've got?" I don't know what else to say, David. I've screwed up, I know that, but I'm trying to fix this." "Trying? Are you even sure what you're trying to fix?" I snapped, standing up and finally facing her. "You've been hiding out in our house like a ghost for weeks, and you still haven't gotten a lawyer. You haven't made a move to even begin to address what you did. I don't know what I'm supposed to do." She shot back, her voice wavering. "I'm not ready to fight you, David. I'm not ready for this to be over. It's not about fighting. It's about doing what's right for the girls. And for us. I can't keep pretending this is fine. This isn't fine." "I know." She looked away, her eyes downcast. I'm not sure how to fix everything." I rubbed my face, trying to think clearly. "We're getting divorced, Carol. That's happening whether we like it or not. I'm just trying to get through the days without completely losing my mind. And you're making it harder every time I look at you. Just get a lawyer, Carol. We need to start moving forward." She nodded, but I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. The past week had been another round of avoidance. My wife and I shared the same roof, but we lived in separate worlds. She'd been leaving for her sister's house on Fridays after work, coming back Sunday night. I didn't mind the space. It gave me a break from everything that had happened. The girls and I just tried to keep our routine as normal as possible, despite the tension hanging over us. My oldest daughter had stopped talking to her mother after several heated arguments, and honestly, that felt like a relief. The last 2 Fridays, she left for her sister's place before I even got home. But tonight was different. When I walked in, there she was, waiting for me in the kitchen. I didn't want to engage, but she reached out and gently took my hand. "Are you going to keep doing this?" she asked softly, her eyes searching mine. "Are you going to keep treating me like this because I'm not ready to talk about it?" It was the first time she had mentioned her affair since it all came to light about a month ago. "Treating you like what?" I muttered, trying to keep my voice steady. I pulled my hand back, not wanting to show any emotion. "Like I don't exist," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I can't keep pretending like nothing's wrong. I'm trying to give you space to process, but you're shutting me out completely." I looked away, not sure what to say. "You're the one who messed everything up, Carol. I'm just trying to make it through the day without losing my mind. I'm not sure I want to talk about it." "Not yet." "I get that. I do. But I'm here if you're ready. I'm not asking for everything to go back to the way it was, but I want us to try. I want us to figure out what comes next." That moment, I tried to walk away. I really did. I wanted to bite my tongue, to just walk out of the kitchen and leave it all behind. But I couldn't. The anger built up inside me, too much to hold in, especially since the girls weren't home. I just lost it. "What comes next?" "Are you kidding me?" I snapped. All the pain, the heartbreak, the anger I'd been carrying around. I let it all pour out. I yelled, my voice growing louder with every word, not caring if I was shaking the walls. I told her how devastated I am, how much her betrayal has torn me apart. Every emotion I'd been suppressing for weeks came rushing out, and I couldn't stop. "You did this," I shouted, my voice cracking. "You destroyed everything. Our family, our life. All of it for what? A stupid affair? How could you? How could you do this to me?" To us? I paced back and forth, barely aware of the time slipping away. I couldn't stop. I was furious, devastated, confused, and heartbroken all at once. I've been holding this in for so long, Carol, I continued, my voice now a whisper, the anger draining out of me, replaced by tears. I don't know how much more I can take. You've ruined me. I broke down completely, the tears falling without my permission. I hated myself for it. I'd been doing so well at keeping it together. I was angry at myself for letting her affect me, for still caring after everything. Carol was crying too now, uncontrollably, her shoulders shaking. For the first time since all this began, I saw her in pain. It shocked me, but deep down, I couldn't help the small, grim sense of satisfaction that crept in. She was finally feeling some of what I've been going through. I hated that it made me feel better, but I couldn't lie to myself. At least there was some empathy in her now. As I vented, Carol kept apologizing, her sobs filling the room. I'm so sorry, she repeated over and over, each word making the whole situation feel even more heartbreaking. I couldn't stand it anymore. Before she could say anything more, I turned and walked out of the kitchen. She stayed in the kitchen for a while, but about half an hour later, she left for her sister's house. When the girls came home, they immediately noticed something was off. It's hard to hide these things, but I wasn't ready to explain it to them. They didn't need to know. I didn't want to disrupt the progress my two youngest had been making, and I didn't want to fuel my oldest daughter's anger even more. Looking back, I think Carol was trying to bring up her affair, but she didn't know how to start the conversation. She barely got a chance before I lost it. This week, Carol's been unusually kind. She's apologized repeatedly, crying a lot, and trying to talk to me. She's practically smothering me with her presence, even knocking on my door at night, hoping for a conversation. I've spoken to her when I felt like it, but mostly, I've ignored her. Wednesday night, I lost my temper and told her to stop bothering me. Then, last night, something changed. After the girls went to bed, Carol came into my room and begged to speak with me alone. This time, something felt different. To avoid causing a scene in front of the kids, I agreed to talk, and we ended up sitting in my car in the garage. The conversation that followed lasted about 3 hours, and honestly, it was exhausting. Carol laid everything out for me, sparing no details. She explained how her sister had introduced her to the affair partner over 5 years ago, before COVID, with no intentions of anything romantic at the time. But things changed once she started working at his company. He was a higher-up, and while she insisted the affair wasn't the reason for her career move, it was clear there was added motivation. She said it started with flirting and texting, which escalated to sharing images and, eventually, a physical relationship shortly before the pandemic. She claimed she felt guilty after her sister found out and almost confessed everything to me, but she decided against it. According to her, she went no contact with him once lockdown started, but when restrictions eased, he reached out again. She said she felt remorse and tried to stop multiple times, but she admitted she kept going back to him. So, it never truly ended. During our conversation, Carol handed me a 5-page handwritten account of her affair, detailing everything and answering my questions as she went. She confessed to lying about so many things. Weekend getaways with the girls, supposed work trips, traffic delays, problems with her parents, shopping trips, a whole web of lies I had already suspected. I couldn't sleep after that. I stayed up all night, listening to her cry, and I cried too. The emotions hit in waves, grief, anger, sadness, over and over. At times, I had to stop myself from confronting her again, knowing it would only escalate into another argument. Her constant apologies and pleas for another chance have done nothing to help. Being around her hurts so much that last night, I had to leave the house for a few hours just to clear my head. She lied to me so much that I believed everything she said without question. It hit me hard when I realized that all those things she told me were just excuses, a cover to justify being with him. It made me feel worse than I already did. Everyone had been right all along. Despite everything, she swore her love for me hadn't changed. She hadn't grown distant, unlike what I'd read in stories from other people. The intimacy had changed, sure, but it didn't raise any red flags at the time. Eventually, she admitted she had fallen in love with her affair partner. She wanted a future with him. He promised her luxury items, trips, and everything else he could offer. He was older, divorced, and unmarried. She told me the excitement of being with him was too much to resist. She fantasized about escaping her responsibilities, leaving everything behind to be with him. She even mentioned how the daily grind of family life bored her. She seemed so emotional and open as she confessed, but it was too much for me. Halfway through her explanation, I broke down, tears flooding my face. I lost my temper, unable to handle it anymore. Hearing all of this was just too painful. Once she finished talking, she looked at me with those sad eyes, telling me how much she loved me and always would. She promised she'd do anything to save our marriage. I should have believed her, right? But after everything, it all felt rehearsed. Like she had practiced those words in front of a mirror, trying to convince herself as much as me. I've spent years with this woman, and I know her better than anyone. I could tell when she was being insincere, and this felt like another one of her lies. Maybe I was wrong, but in that moment, I didn't care. I was done. I was angrier than I had been the week before, but I was more composed, less reactive. I kept my distance emotionally, but the words still came out, sharper than I intended. You think I'm just going to fall for that? After everything? You love me? You always will? I let out a bitter laugh. Yeah, right. It's nice how you say that now that you've got what you wanted. You've got your affair partner, your new life. I'm just another option you're trying to keep around. Her face faltered, but she tried to keep her composure. David, please. Please? Don't please me. I cut her off, feeling the anger rise in my chest. You know, you're just one of his options too, right? I mean, how many girlfriends does he have? Just another one on the list for him to get bored with. I saw her face go pale, and for the first time in a while, I felt like I had made her feel something. Something real. Maybe. She looked pretty offended by that. Eventually, I had to ask her the question I already knew the answer to. If he were still around, and you had to choose between him and me, who would you pick? She hesitated, looking down at her hands, and then whispered, That's not fair, David. I didn't let up. I pushed her further. Just answer the damn question. After a long pause, she finally said, I'd choose you, of course. I laughed bitterly, the anger surging again. Another lie. How many more do you have left? I shook my head, letting the disappointment settle deep in my chest. That's why I'm divorcing you. I'm done. She started crying then. The tears seemed real, but at that point, I wasn't sure what was real anymore. I sat there in silence for a while, staring ahead, exhausted. I couldn't take it anymore. Finally, I broke the silence. We're getting a divorce, Carol. I'm not going to keep living like this. I could barely look at her as I spoke. We owe it to our kids to be good parents, even if we're not together. We need to figure out how to get along for them. I took a breath and continued. I just hope you can be decent enough to end this divorce fairly and amicably. You've already put me through hell, and the least I can expect from you is a clean break. It felt like the right way to end things, though part of me hated how final it sounded. I told her I have always loved her and would have loved her forever, but now, she needs to live with the fact that she killed my love for her. I hope you rot in hell, Carol. After that, I got out of the car and went to bed. That was it. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could think about was what had happened, what she had done. I kept seeing the image of her crying, but it didn't move me anymore. It felt like I was emotionally drained from everything. And now, here I am again, struggling to sleep tonight. I don't know what comes next, and honestly, I'm not sure how to handle the next steps. But one thing is clear. She no longer has the chance to challenge the divorce. The next day, I filed for divorce under adultery. It was clear from the start what had happened, and I wasn't going to sugarcoat it. I wanted the world to know the truth. Carol's affair wasn't just a betrayal to me. It was a slap in the face to everything I had worked for in our marriage. I wasn't going to protect her or hide it anymore. I handed over the handwritten letter she had written as her confession. It was everything, every lie, every detail she had withheld from me. The moment she handed it over, I knew there was no going back. I didn't just want the divorce. I wanted it to be clear why it was happening. She couldn't rewrite this part of our story. She tried to fight it. I could see the panic in her eyes as she begged for counseling, tried to convince me that things could change, that she could be different. But I was done. The judge wasn't moved by her pleas, and counseling was never going to undo what had already been done. When it came to the kids, I knew what was going to happen. They wanted to stay with me. Every single one of them. Carol had no leg to stand on, not after everything. The kids saw her for what she really was, and she couldn't even get them to back her up. It crushed her. Watching her face as they told the judge they wanted to live with me, knowing she had no chance of changing their minds, that was a bitter moment. The custody went to me. I felt a little guilty, but honestly, I had no choice. My girls needed stability, and I was the one who could provide it. Carol's heart broke when she realized they were all abandoning her. She tried to act like it didn't affect her, but I saw the tears. The divorce was finalized. That was the end of it. No more lies, No more pretending. No more wondering what could have been. Carol was no longer my problem. As hard as the process was, I was finally free. I didn't feel relief at first. It felt more like a numb exhaustion. But eventually, I started to breathe again. I wasn't trapped in that relationship anymore. I was free. I got the call from Carol's father a few weeks after the divorce was finalized. I could barely understand him through the panic in his voice, but he was trying to tell me that Carol had tried to end her life. My heart didn't skip a beat. It was more like a dull thud. I didn't feel bad for her, not after everything. But he kept calling, begging me to come see her. He told me she was in a mental institution now, under constant watch. She was a mess, they said, completely shattered, barely holding it together. Part of me didn't care. She had made her choices, and now she had to live with the consequences. But part of me, somewhere deep down, felt like I was watching something tragic unfold. Not that I would ever help her. Carol's father kept pleading with me to come visit her, saying she was desperate to see me. He kept calling her the mother of my daughters, trying to pull on my heartstrings, like the title alone was supposed to mean something after everything she had done. I could feel the guilt trying to creep in, but I pushed it away. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I picked up the phone. "I'm not coming," I said, my voice firm. "I don't owe her anything." Her father's voice cracked with frustration. "David, she's lost her mind. Please, she's asking for you. She needs to see you." I wasn't about to give in. I wasn't about to let him manipulate me. She didn't need me when she was sleeping with another man, did she? I shot back. She made her bed. Now she can lie in it. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Carol's father didn't have anything to say after that. I knew it was harsh, but it was the truth. She didn't get to act like I still owed her anything. Her mother died the moment she chose to sleep with another man. I hung up the phone, and that was the end of it. I wasn't going to let guilt control me. I had my own life to rebuild. My daughters were finally safe from her, and that was all that mattered now. Carol could suffer, she could fall apart, but she had no claim on me anymore. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.